Linda here, the Scrapbooking Photographer. Welcome to my channel and thanks for stopping by. As you can see, I have done a little bit of preparation for today's video, which is for the Iron Crafter hosted by Tara O'Rourke from the Paper Snob community. Now each month Tara gives us a mystery item to use, and this month it was to use 50 enamel dots. So that was a little bit daunting to start with, but I have actually figured out what I want to do. And that is to use the dots to map our route around the South Island of New Zealand when we did a trip in a camper van in 1988. So I've cut out a shape of the South Island on my Cricut, and I'm going to use the piece that it cut out of just to give us a guide as to where it's going to go. But before I stick it down, I want to go around the outside to give a little bit of a blue tinge, because the South Island, being an island, is of course surrounded by water. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it really and use the blending brush. I'm trying to get the brush started where the map's going to go so that we don't get too many circly bits on the outside, and just get that feeling of water and the beautiful blue. Just a little bit more over here. Alright, we'll see how that looks. So because New Zealand is on such an angle in the ocean, and I want a heading sort of to fit on the side there, so I'm going to bring it down to about there, I think. And I'm using the cutout from the Cricut to get it on that same angle that it is, so it will fit in here perfectly. And I've put some sticky on the back already, and don't forget the little Stewart Island down the bottom. It just fits in there, so we get him in the right place. Then we can take that off. And we've got that in the right place. Now we didn't make it to Stewart Island, but we did make it to these other places. Now I've got these other bits to put in the right place now that they can sit on the ocean. And I had to look at the map to make sure I had everything in the right place. And I hope I have. If there's anybody that lives down there and sees I've got it wrong, I'm sure you'll tell me. Westport's up the top, and then Greymouth, then Hokitika, Milford down here, and I've got two more. I have to just double check, make sure I get them in the right place. So we've got Haast about here, and Fox Glacier a little bit, and then sort of about there. Some sticky on that. Right, now the photos I'm using are ones we took way before we were into photography or scrapbooking or anything like that. There was one of me outside the camper van that John would have taken, and then there's one that some kind tourist must have taken of us at Tekapo, which is here, and that's where this dog is outside a beautiful stone church. So we might just pop that in somewhere there. So because of the blue in the camper van and the blue in my sweatshirt and John's jeans, I think I'll mount those in blue, and that kind of goes with the sea as well. Right, so I've got these that will go in here, and I'm thinking I might put a little bit of blue behind as well. Now, funny story, I don't have any more of that blue there, but when I go through my scraps, I found this that must have been saved from when I gutted it on another project. So there's a good reason for saving everything that we don't use. So I'm going to cut 1/2 inch off two of these sides. Then we'll pop these photos in like so. there. Right, I can stick those down and then work on the title. I've managed to find another piece of that colour, so I'm just going to cut a 3-inch wide piece and use the mini alphabet from Stampin' Up, because I've already done a page for this holiday and I used this alphabet then, so I'll use the same one again. And I'm just going to put the title there saying Touring the South, and it might take me a little while, so you don't need to watch me pluck all these out and then stick them on, but it's going to be a title going that way, so I'll come back when that bit is down. Right, so I've got the title on there. I haven't got any embellishments sorted as yet, but I do have the dots ready. And when you first look at these packets of dots, you don't really know how many are in there, but when you have to find 50, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in each row, and there's 5 rows, so there's actually 50 of these. So what I'm going to do is use the big ones on these little dots at the end of the arrows, and I might use a different colour to trace around the route we took. And so then I thought we'd just use the little ones to go. We went from Christchurch, which is the main centre in the South Island, quite a big city. My brother lives just out of Christchurch, so I think we went and saw him. And then we went through to Geraldine, where we spent a night, obviously in the campervan parks, and had the best fish and chips in Geraldine. And also it was beautiful autumn. It was an autumn time of year and it was just lovely. Then we went to Timaru and then down the coast to Oamaru. Oamaru is known for its limestone buildings, very wide streets in Oamaru. Then we went down to Dunedin, where we went to a Larnach Castle, a historic building. Then we went down to Bluff. Now I'm going to run out here, so I'm going to use a different colour. Go back to some green ones. We went down to a Bluff, which is at the very bottom of the South Island, and that's where we could look across to Stewart Island and also do the Fovo walkway, and looked at the sign that showed us how far away the South Pole was and all that kind of stuff. Then we went up to Invercargill, and then across to Te Anau, a beautiful lake in Te Anau. Then we went up to Queenstown, which if you've heard of New Zealand, you've probably heard of Queenstown. It's quite a touristy destination. And not far from Queenstown is Arrowtown, and we ducked up there for a day, which was lovely. It's an old mining town. Then we went to Wanaka. And then we tried to go to Milford, and one of the pages that I have already done is about going to Milford. I did that last month as part of Ginger's Corner's Hop for Clue. So that's all done. And then we went up to Haast, over a pass, very bleak. Doesn't get a lot of sun over this part of the island. Then we went up to Fox Glacier, lovely big, glaciers, but you can see how quickly they're receding. And even in 1988, we could see previous signposts from other years that showed how far they had receded. And then we'll go back to Green on our way up to Hokitika and to Greymouth, and then we'll head up to Westport, which was a beautiful town and we had the best lunch in front of a roaring fire in Westport. And then we went up to Nelson. I can't remember the way we drove. I think we might have gone somewhere up here, but I can't remember. So Nelson I hadn't been to before. We went in 1988 and I hadn't been since until I went last year in 2024 for the photography conference. And I recently done a page, I think that was also with Ginger's Corner in the Clue Hop, where I did the golden sunset. And coming over to Picton, need to get to Picton to catch the ferry, and I believe we caught the ferry back to Wellington, which is at the bottom of the North Island, and then caught a plane home from there. So there we go. So we started here and went all the way around the bottom here and then up the west coast back to Picton. So we have done another trip to see this part in Kaikoura and the whale watching and things over there, but that's what we did that year. So that has taken, I'll just count the enamel dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 83 enamel dots, so that meets the criteria there. I'll just do a little bit of journaling and see if I can find a couple of embellishments so we can finish off. So I've done my journaling and I've just found these little ferns which I had put aside from a different project, and I think that will just finish this page off nicely. We can just fit those in. So there is my page for this month's Iron Crafter. I hope you enjoyed watching that come together as much as I did enjoy putting it together. It's actually taken quite a bit of work to remember the route we took, and we've been talking about the trip and the different memories that we had. Also remembered that in 1988 I was just pregnant when we went on this trip with our eldest son Christopher, so he's on tour with us. Thanks very much, Tara, for a great challenge this month using 50 enamel dots. So I've used more than that, so I'm very happy with the way this has turned out. So if you'd like to see the rest of this trip come together, then subscribe to the channel, and the rest of the photos will be done in some way that I can fluff them up, because without many photos I'm trying to fill the pages with different things about the trip. So this worked really well to use up just 2 photos. So thanks very much for watching, everybody, and happy crafting.